Hello everyone. We will move to our next topic on outsourcing decisions. Okay. So you might be wondering why outsourcing uh, in strategic sourcing when we have talked a lot about sourcing. Okay. So just to begin with, I want to ask you, just think about it. Uh, can you tell me where this Nike, Reebok, right? Their manufacturing plants are located. Ranipet, Pakistan, where else? Where they manufacturing plants? Where do they manufacture their products? Where is the Nike manufacturing plants? Pardon? Okay, I'll help you. Do they have many manufacturing plants? Do they manufacture? Do they manufacture? They don't own the plants, but they outsource. Okay, so there are no Nike manufacturing plants. Okay, so there are many companies these days which, like, their competency is outsourcing. So Nike, they just do marketing. Okay, so there are many companies which are evolving like Cisco, which follow that model. Okay, but why we need to discuss about outsourcing? Okay, when we have talked a lot about sourcing. Okay, what is the difference? Why we need to discuss about this topic, outsourcing? Okay, so today's session we will be focusing on, you know to start with, what is make, buy, outsourcing, insourcing, right? Then why companies outsource, and are there any risk or challenges in outsourcing? We should certainly focus on advantages and disadvantages. And then if we want to plan for outsourcing, then what model one should use to go for outsourcing. The moment you will find any reading on outsourcing, the next term will be core competency, right? So what is the mantra of outsourcing? Keep core competency in house, outsource non core. Okay, but how to find out core competency? Okay, so this is the question we will try to address, and we will have, outsourcing models, like, how we can decide. So make, buy, insourcing, outsourcing, we all know what is make: producing, converting the goods internally. It's make or provide service internally. Buy, when we buy goods and service procured from a supplier. So far we have emphasized on the buying process. Okay, purchasing, procurement, right? Now insourcing and outsourcing are very interesting terms. Insourcing is reversing a previous buy decision. If we are already purchasing something, right, over a period of time, we decided to make it or produce it in house rather than buying it. Or reversing a make decision is called outsourcing. Reversing a previous make decision, and now we are going outsourcing. Okay, now this makes a lot of difference. One is like buying, the general procurement we do. Now we are talking about buying those products which we had been producing or converting or processing in house previously, traditionally. Okay, so what does this mean? That means the company which is now outsourcing has the capability to produce it. It can be product, goods, or services. This is the main difference. Okay, now just spend 1 minute, like, given the situation, one is buying, another is outsourcing. Okay, how now, given this background, right, given this upright setting, how this thing will change your mind? what kind of decisions will come now? What kind of decisions the company has to take, like, as compared to buying and when they move to outsourcing. Is it as good at, like, if I'm making a cake, baking a cake myself, or should I go and buy now? Isn't it? Right? So what will come to your mind? Starting from there, that would help us in what kind of challenges, issues and decisions would differ, as compared to sourcing. Cheaper to produce. Okay. Yeah. Right. It's not like, you would try to see this activity is like, is really a good knowledge center to my organization, whether it is the way I am producing, is it very expensive, yes. So that's a good start. Okay. So that's a good start, right? This is how, one would move from making to outsourcing. Okay. That's the difference. Okay. So keep in mind, like, because people generally use this word sourcing and outsourcing interchangeably. Okay. Now when you will use this word outsourcing, keep in mind you are going to outsource a thing for which you have or you had the capability, or you had been or you have been producing. Okay. So this is defined as act of obtaining semi-finished, finished product services from an outside company if these activities were previously performed internally. That is more important. So there are many related terms. Okay. Subcontracting, right? You all might have heard of the word subcontracting. So this is the subcontracting is the prime contractors bid out part of the work to other contractors. Okay. So for example, you have the contractor, you have given some work to the you have outsourced that, but, like, that contractor have further subcontracted. Okay. So that's why, sometimes subcontracting is subset of outsourcing, right? So now outsourcing can also be said as buying or subcontracting a business function from outside supplier. But when we do this function in another country, it is called offshoring, right? So this captive offshoring, if subcontractor is part of same firm, right? So this is called captive offshoring. So there are different related terms: offshoring, captive offshoring. Will not go in detail of that, but one must understand, like, subcontracting and outsourcing, they actually, cater to different decisions than simple sourcing. Okay. So why companies go for outsourcing? It's not a question, is not why companies source. Okay. Why companies go for outsourcing? You all agree with that? If I would feel that, there is an innovative, like, there is some other player who has been able to come up with innovative products in faster manner, then I would do, right? I would go for outsourcing. Or, probably I'm not having best technology or knowledge or expertise in this area, I would go for outsourcing, or available products or processes at best price, right? This is a broad factors, which leads to leads company to think about going for outsourcing, so that they can be at competitive advantage. Okay. So even if companies would say that activity A, B, C, I am very good at that, but for activity B and C, I already have experts in the market. Okay. Even if I am very good at that, but I am not competitive in B and C, why not outsource activity B to a company which is competitive, so that put together all my activities become competitive, right? So this is the competitive advantage, like outsource from the specialized experts. So this is one. Now if we will deep down, we will see that there are other reasons why companies go for outsource, like if you will see many countries, like in the globe, you will see the subsets, like Egypt is low cost destination, very supportive government, multilingual talent, so we would outsource. That means that you will see like some clusters, some hubs, like where you will get one specialization. Correct. So Dubai, Singapore, you will have good IT security systems, like some countries you can take advantage of the time zone differences, languages. Okay, so this can be also reasons of outsourcing, right? Why companies go for outsourcing. Okay, so okay, if we will have to see the key strengths of India, why India is now, like especially after COVID, like there has been more focus on uh, outsourcing to India. Okay, so every day, if you would see these days newspaper, every on an average, at least one company would be stating that they want to open operations in India, right? So even today I have seen, right? So Apple, Flextronics, these are the examples which have come to India, so because of uh, some key strengths India is having, right? Large domestic consumption base, cost competitiveness, low design, testing and validation cost, right? Frugal engineering capabilities. We say jugaad, right? So we have, like this capability, right? So this Chandrayaan mission has already proven that, right? How we can achieve, this low cost strategies. Strategic geographical location, right? We are nicely, like located in a place with so many ports, very efficient ports, like, right? So where we can take advantage of low shipping costs. Okay, so medical tourism, right? We are if you really see, like the stats, we have many many patients, right? Or you can say customers coming all across the world for the treatment in India, right? Still it's cheaper, but at the same time best services they get, right? Strong ITS capabilities, right? Since the inception of ITS, like companies like TCS, Infosys, they have been serving as an outsourcing partners to all worldwide companies. Okay, so this is the we need to evaluate the strength, like may uh, either if we want to go for outsourcing, or to build our capabilities of being outsourced. Okay, so this is the strength. But in general, if you have to really see what are the points, right, why in general companies go for outsourcing, one must know that. Okay, so one is growth opportunities. What do we mean by growth opportunities? We want to grow maybe in terms of number of products, maybe in number of customers. Okay, we want to go for this increased global competition, right? So pressure to reduce costs, right? Now why pressure to reduce cost and this global competition, right? So pressure to reduce cost means what? Can you think of, can you link it with, like how pressure to reduce cost can help us in uh, making this decision or changing the decision to go for outsourcing? Means what are the reason, if I'm producing something at say price X, right, and I want to reduce the cost, correct, I would go for outsourcing, right? Why do you think the other company from where you are going to outsource can give that product at lower cost? How they will get economies of scale? What do we mean by economies of scale? Very good. So one has to see, like, whether those companies have larger volumes, right? Larger volumes, the capacities are good, and so that their overheads are spread across the larger capacity. Okay, so that is one reason. Another, labor cost, we all know, we have seen that. And there can be other reason, automation, right? Over a period of time the costs have come down, right? Or you see that, now economies of scale, why those companies are producing larger volumes. Multiple companies gave order, that means they get, the multiple orders, like, to this thing, they are serving your competitors. Okay, so if some company is so capable of, like, serving you and your competitors, that means that activity can never be my core competency. Okay, that can never be my core competency. This is how one can keep assessing, what is the core competency. Downsizing, you want to specially downsize a particular activity, focus on core competency, right? So we all know that the company IBM, right? So when IBM was initiated, what was the key activity IBM was having? Was it manufacturing? What is research and design? Have you seen the background? Do you know? Do you know what is the full form of IBM? Machines, right? That means they used to make machines. That means they used to manufacture machines, right? But what are they doing now? Software or something else, their key operations. Cloud services, right? So that means they are moving from, a manufacturing company slowly, then they became research and design, correct? With them, they must be continuing now also, and now, now everything is going to cloud. That means over a period of time, okay, so the companies have been, like, outsourcing their activities. Or what is the other point we can make out of it? The company's core competencies are also changing. Okay, so this is two very important aspects when we talk about outsourcing, right? So identifying core competencies, right? And keep reviewing your core competencies, because it might change with time. Okay, so we might have lack of managerial or technical experience and expertise, like lack of production capacity, right? And customer preference for a particular brand, right? Customer might want, I want Intel inside, so you have no option. Okay, so you cannot produce yourself, you have to get the challenges of maintaining technological leadership for non-core activities, and outsourcing is difficult to reverse, right? So many a times, like, the objection comes from within company that, we cannot make any more now, produce we cannot reverse the decision of producing, right? It might be difficult, right? Many a times, like, if we will do multiple product production inside company, or even the software development, right? Because we are using same resources, right? We are using same overheads, right? It is very difficult to separate out each cost component going into, that particular activity, right? The company cannot get the cost accuracy, right? What are the cost components going in particular activity? So that also motivate the companies to outsource. Flexibility, like, your volumes keep on changing, your demand keeps on changing, so you want to have this flexibility, that's why you go for subcontracting. So insufficient volume to justify in-house production, it is very similar to, your cost overheads, like, you are producing very small in numbers. So forecasts show great demand and or technological uncertainty. You are into a market where, technology is really uncertain. Okay, So availability of highly capable supplier, like if there are too many suppliers already existing, then why to produce in-house, right? Buying outside may open up markets, right? So many a times, like in India, what is happening now, if any foreign direct investment comes to India, there are many clauses. Either they have to partner with Indian companies, either they have to source from some percentage source from Indian companies, or like many a times in defense and this sector, they go for offsets. What do you mean by offsets? Like the countries always negotiate. If you want to uh, market your product to our country, or you want to manufacture in our country, then you must source this percentage from our this thing, or you must buy some of our these things, to your country. So those kind of offsets are set. Okay, so superior supply management expertise and ability to bring product or service to the market faster. Okay, so many a times companies are in dilemma, like I want to give the best product. Even companies like Apple have now realized that if we want to keep giving innovative products, we have to outsource many of the activities to reach out to the market in a faster manner. Okay, so this is why companies go for outsourcing, right? There can be all multiple these things, right? One can go by general factors, and one can see, like focus on one company, study fully, like I've said Egypt. You can see the, like you can Google and you will find that there are 7 8 prominent reasons why companies go to Egypt for outsourcing, and in India we have already seen, right? The perfect example of outsourcing is a function called logistics. Over a period of time, companies have moved, like from owning the assets, like just also now we have discussed owning the logistics assets, to the outsourcing, right? To third party logistics providers, they have provided benefits like reduction in logistics cost, right? So you might have done in distribution strategies like something called milk run systems, right? You might have heard cross dockings, right? So all those distribution strategies, like they have been made possible because we have now something called logistic service providers, because we are able to outsource this function, right? It reduces the order cycle time, right? So you all might have heard this bullwhip effect, right? What is this bullwhip effect in supply chain? Small change in downstream, or if there is no change in downstream, that what would happen? Can we have bullwhip effect even if there is no change in the downstream thing, right? Yes, right? Yes, because many a times in supply chain or in general, we blame the end customer demand is uncertain, customer behavior is different. Okay, but it has been realized in supply chain, even if we have a product with stable demand, right? Right, the product with stable demand, as the orders for that product move upstream in supply chain, huge variation in the demand versus orders have been seen as one moves up in the supply chain. Why this happen, right? Why this happen? There can be many reasons. Can you recollect some main reasons? Differences in order review period, that can be one thing, right? What else? Yeah, that's multiple planning, multiple orders. Yeah, so multiple, yeah, forecasting, right? Forecasting is done in an independent manner, right? Right, a subtle example, if retailer would say I would use moving average, and the wholesaler will say I will use the, like Holt's model, Winters model, because there have been trends and all, and this two different decisions are good enough to bring bullwhip effect. But one more important factor in creating this bullwhip effect is like, companies want to reduce something called ordering cost, right? They don't, so in traditional thinking, in traditional supply chain, what would happen, so companies, like, just like your economic order quantity, right? They would either hold the finished goods till they get full truckload of goods, or they would not order the goods unless it becomes full truckload order from the supplier, right? So this would, because they would think that why to get less than truckload, half truckload, just one item on the truckload, okay, right? And the frequent ordering, just in time ordering, like, small shipment ordering was not possible,